Now the 5AA forecast: rain at times today, 19. Tomorrow, rain easing, 19. Saturday, showers, 19 again. Partly cloudy, 17 for Sunday. Then fine for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, temps in the high teens. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Peter Godfrey, talking Adelaide on 1395 5AA.
It is 5 minutes past 5, in fact 6 minutes past 5 now, 16 degrees at the moment, not far off our forecast top. Goodness me, let's head across the ditch now, see what's happening across there. Selwyn Manning, editor of EveningReport.nz. Selwyn, how's things?
Yeah, very good, Peter.
That's the way.
Very good.
Good to hear. We'll get on to your weather shortly. You've sort of changing of seasons a bit like us, but we'll start with some politics. Now, an unprecedented comments coming from your Reserve Bank. They're talking out against government policy in regard to a possible capital gains tax.
Absolutely right, Peter. This is a huge issue over here in New Zealand. Some of your listeners may remember you and I talking about the Auckland housing crisis, really, and how the prices of Auckland houses are just absolutely zooming, and that is continuing to be problematic for the government and for the New Zealand economy in general. But the Reserve Bank speaking out, it's unprecedented, and it is speaking out on government policy, actually against the government policy in a sense. It's advocating that basically what the opposition parties like the Green Party and what the Labour Party was pushing ahead, and that is a capital gains tax similar to what Australia has.
Okay.
And that is on not individuals' homes, not on
the family home,
but on those who are investing into that market, and the capital gains on the gain, the profits that they're making out of that. Now, the Nationals that are in government here are dead against that kind of thing. In the last election, they spoke absolutely viciously against it, and they maintain that position now. So for the Reserve Bank to come out like this yesterday is, like I say, is unprecedented, Peter. It was done. There was a deputy governor of the Reserve Bank, a man called Grant Spencer, and he spoke specifically to one of the provincial chamber of commerces in a place called Rotorua, which is it's a tourist centre, but it's in the middle of the North Island there, when there's geysers and all that kind of thing. He was speaking there, and he was speaking specifically about the Auckland market, and he said that throughout since the 2014 general election, which was only in September, that the prices of Auckland houses have zoomed ahead so much that it's basically a bubble, that it can't be sustained, that the measures that the government was facilitating, meaning to try and increase the number of houses for sale or the supply side of the equation, he said while they are showing signs of being effective, they are medium and long-term kind of measures, that they take a while to have an effect. Meanwhile, the demand for the Auckland housing is surging ahead at a disproportionate rate, and that needs to be cooled down, he's saying, because it's going to have a wider effect on the New Zealand economy in the end. He said what will happen is the bubble will burst. And what that brings down with it is not just all of those who have got mortgages at the current values, paper values of homes, and perhaps the equity in their houses sinks below what the value of their mortgages are, which causes obviously problems like we saw in the United States some years ago. But it also is intrinsically kind of connected to the whole banking system, where the securities that are applied to the lending start to go out of kilter, and that can have a spiralling implosion on the New Zealand economy. So these are really, really big issues. It's certainly been an argument that has been building for some years now, Peter, and in real terms, New Zealand, if you wish to buy a home in central Auckland suburbs, you could expect to be paying, over $1 million for a fairly humble home now.
And for in a city of similar population to us, I think you're very much similar to us in size, I think.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Wow.
So the Auckland's population sits somewhere around the 1.5 million, and it's sprawled, narrow isthmus. So we've got two harbours on each side, so it stretches and sprawls for quite a long way. And that brings with it all the infrastructure kind of challenges and things on a volcanic plateau like it's built on. But all of this really comes back to what is the government going to do One, addressing the supply area and ratcheting up the pace of construction for houses so that there are more houses on the market. And it seems, it's got its version of how that should be done, and it's working in tandem with Auckland Council, which is significant to this whole argument. But it does seem, and I was listening very closely to an interview that was just done on Radio New Zealand with the housing minister, and it does seem, if you're standing back, and the average person, I think, would think, they got their heads on the sand, because as soon as you start to address the issues of what are the solutions on the demand side, there's a lot of manoeuvring and vague talk, and they're satisfied. The Prime Minister even said overnight that the Auckland economy is going along really well, that, there's all sorts of investment coming in, that there's the migration is satisfactory, and if not, fantastic. He's saying that, the economy is buoyant, and then you've got the housing minister only a matter of about 20 minutes ago saying that all of these are growing pains and they're the successes of the rock star economy. And then you've got the Reserve Bank Deputy Governor saying if we don't do something in the short term, then we risk an implosion, basically, is what he's saying, of the New Zealand economy.
Okay.
So there's a huge issue here, that it seems there's a political vacuum relating to solutions. It does seem, Peter, in assessing it, that in analysing it, that there's a situation where this particular cabinet is putting ideology, meaning hands-off type of ideologies, ahead of a pragmatic response to it.
Okay.
So the challenge is really a political one. The solutions must come from the political arena to instruct its ministries and its departments, or entities like the Reserve Bank, to actually use tools outside of what it agrees with at the moment.
Okay. Do you have... is there negative gearing on investment properties in New Zealand?
Can you explain that?
Negative. Oh, so if the landlord has it as a rental property as an investment, and basically it runs at a loss, that loss can be offset against the tax tax.
They made a move on depreciation type of elements of what could be claimed back in 2010.
Okay.
The Nationals did that, so 2 years into their term, and they still say that is one of the areas where they're constraining the opportunists in the investment area. But the problem here is a twofold. One, that there is huge, significant domestic investment, whether it be coming from new migrants that have come to New Zealand, or those who have settled here and have been here for generations. And there's also the open gate to foreign investment speculating in the Auckland housing market.
Yeah.
So what we can see here is clearly a situation where there are paper values being ratcheted up by huge investment in properties, knowing that there's another wave coming of investors coming behind that are going to push them up higher, and then the sales go on. So that's the situation where an average house in Auckland is going up 13% per annum per year. That is. So if you're looking at a house that is $500,000, well, you're going to be 500 and what? You're going to
be chasing, if first home buyers are going to be forever chasing their tail trying to get a deposit together.
Yeah,
basically.
So you're looking at potentially around $70,000 profit on that house within 12 months. If you're looking at $1 million home, which like I was saying, in the central suburbs is pretty much the norm, then you're going to be making $136,000 per year on that, and foreign investors sitting back there just putting the money in to purchase on equity, siphoning out as soon as they can make a decent profit on it. And why wouldn't they when you've got an open gate? The government has an idea in its head that that's a good thing, and that it's pushing values up, and it seems like it's set in that and not even focusing on the bubble problem.
Okay. Is there any calls for that open gate for foreign investors in housing to be closed, or at least moved shut a little? Because that's been a big issue here that people have raised concerns about on similar fronts.
And I understand that Australia has moved to a degree on that kind of area.
Slowly.
Our Finance Minister Bill English said that it's, well, this is my words, but that's basically what he was saying, that it's in his peripheral vision. He was interested in watching what Australia was doing in that area. So that is something that perhaps we will see a move on. But once again, it gets back to government policy. The government has very much been trying to solicit foreign investment, irrespective of where it is targeted. So once again, it gets back to the New Zealand government at the current time has been encouraging foreign investment into New Zealand housing as opposed to trying to actually curb it. It has actually been saying that it's a significant component of it, and then so all of us will say, well, can you show us the evidence that forces you to believe that? Because that's not the experience of those who go to purchase a house or go to an auction and then they find that someone is bidding on behalf of someone overseas, and it just pushes the values about $100,000 above anyone's reach. So, it gets back to, and they say, oh, well, we haven't got a database that collects that information. So, well, how come you are saying that this? And then you just go around in circles. It's almost like they haven't got a database to collect that information so that they can give the vague answers they do.
So getting back to the head in the sand kind of approach that you mentioned earlier.
It's really frustrating. And for those of us who have homes in Auckland, you look at your values and you think, wow, well, we've got options here. If we move out of Auckland, you're mortgage-free, your lifestyle will change immediately and all of that type of thing. But if you're going to stay here long-term or even medium-term, what you see is your rates that are tagged to the value of your home climbing at huge rates, and it's almost gentrifying a whole city.
And of course, that it's nice to see that value on a bit of paper, but of course, if you think, well, okay, it's worth a lot, let's upgrade. Of course, what you're buying has gone up as well, so you're not really making any gain. You're not doing anything.
So long term, it can certainly disrupt and break down whole communities.
Indeed,
and replace them with something that doesn't resemble the country you grew up in.
Indeed. So we'll just have a quick break, and we'll be back. We've got a whole lot of other things we can talk about that are affecting you guys over there in New Zealand. Won't be a moment. Selwyn Manning's with us, editor of EveningReport.nz.
5AA breakfast.
There was a vote last night on whether we ban circuses in the city, and we have Robert Sims, who is the Adelaide City Councillor, who has led the campaign.
The thing that really motivated me to take action on this was the concerns expressed by the RSPCA. I've got no problems at all with circuses. My issue is around the exploitation of animals.
David Penberthy, Mark Aston and Jane Riley for breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Sean, what's with the fingers in the ears?
Sorry, Gary, I can't hear you. I've got my fingers in my ears.
Oh, it's that horrible sound, isn't it? I'm out of here.
No, thanks. I don't drink beer. Oh, the big cheese. More like the big pain in my...
The Big Cheese. Total rodent control, including sonic systems that only they can hear and sends them packing. Available at Bunnings Warehouse and all good hardware stores.
The Big Cheese. I hate the sound of that.
At Northeast Isuzu Ute, all we do is Isuzu. It means nobody knows more about Isuzu Ute than we do. And nobody can do Isuzu Ute deals like this. Buy any D-Max or MUX before the end of June, get your 3,000k service free. Plus, get your 10,000 service free as well. Yep, 10k service free. Now that's service times 2 free. Nobody knows Isuzu like Northeast Isuzu Ute. Burton and Hampstead Gardens. ne.isuzute.com.au.
If you're creating your dream bathroom, then these names will have distinct meaning to you. Decina, Timberline, ADP, RD Agencies, Phoenix Tapware. They're standout Australian brands, and you'll find them all at Distinct Bathrooms. With 2 huge showrooms, the most distinct range in Adelaide. We look forward to building a better bathroom with you. Distinct Bathrooms, 35 Sheriff Road, Lonsdale. And our new store, 838 Marion Road, Marion.
Jim's Antennas provide you and the community with the highest industry standards. That's why they're big fans of Australian-made products, like Australian-made antennas. And Jim is also a big fan of the Little Heroes Foundation. That's why when you install a premium Australian-made antenna with Jim's Antennas, you're helping support SA Kids through Little Heroes Foundation. For an on-site quote, call Jim now.
Jimbo, off to work we go.
Jim's Antennas, 131 546. That's 131 546.
1395, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Peter Godfrey.
20 minutes past 5, and we're taking a look at things across the ditch. Selwyn Manning's with us, editor of EveningReport.nz. Now, Selwyn had a earlier caller, one of our regulars overnight, Ted, sort of mentioned on some of the frightening statistics he was reading about domestic violence here, sort of quoting some figures. Sort of 1 woman every 3 days in Australia was killed in a domestic violence situation, killed at the hands of her partner, or sort of 120 a year, saying that, we're kind of right up the top of the list as far as those numbers sort of up there with Japan, and he thought that New Zealand was pretty high up there. What, is it an issue that's very much on the public agenda? Concerns about domestic violence?
Yeah, it's huge over here. Peter, I don't have the exact statistics that map or compare to the ones you've cited there, but it is an issue that is forever being raised, debated, and solutions sought to try and address this. It's clearly probably the same, and I would imagine in Australia that it carries over all sectors of the communities.
Yeah.
Only this morning, the New Zealand Herald is leading with a story here where on Tuesday a man called Martin Schofield walked up to the public counter at the Taupo police station, that's in the central part of North Island, and reported that an incident, in quotes, had taken place at his home. Soon after that, the police went there and they found 47-year-old Katrina Drummond was dead in her bedroom, and a hammer was lying near her body. The man has been arrested for her murder, and clearly it's got to be put before the courts yet.
Yes.
But the circumstances that are in the public domain are as I read them just there, Peter, and it underscores perhaps, if the man is found to have been responsible for this killing, another example of domestic violence. And like you say, if that's the rate in Australia, quite often our cultures map together. This exact statistics, like I said, I'm not privy to those relating to New Zealand, but oh boy, the police here about 3-4 years ago did a significant push on domestic violence being a crime. So you can see even by that they were trying to seed into the minds of people two ways: those who are the victim of a crime within the family unit, that it's not okay for you to be treated like this, and the other side of things, speaking directly to those that may be committing the crime,
the perpetrators,
that this isn't acceptable in this country.
Yeah.
And, but once again, I say it's endemic, and it continues on. The stresses, financial stresses, obviously the drug stresses on some families, the alcohol stresses, but even cultural stresses.
Yeah.
And those, when we start to look at cultural things, there's a cringe and almost a no debate kind of area in this country when it comes to problems that are specific that may have come across from other countries. And it's such a delicate balance where people don't want to appear to have been resting on stereotype or racism.
Yeah.
So
very
it's
similar.
such a complex thing, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Quite clearly, a lot of the issues that affect you guys very, very similar, very, almost identical to, situations over here as well. One final topic to talk about, the weather. We're starting to feel like we're heading into winter a lot more. We got rain forecast today and temperatures for the next week all in the teens, the high teens. You've similarly, feel like you've hit winter over there too.
Yeah, Peter, last week I remember you saying that there was a real cold kind of nip that you guys were experiencing. We were still sitting in relative warmth, actually, and quite a bit above you guys for a change, But this week we've got that cold, icy breath of winter has descended over the whole country. We've had snow down South Island. And
you've had snow already? Okay.
Yes, snow, significant snow too. Chains on the vehicles having to put chains on their cars to keep traction in the snow on the roads. In the North Island, in the central volcanic plateau area, there's been snow there. That's very early. So I guess, those who are operating the tourist sector will be thinking, great, wonderful ski season ahead potentially.
Well, that was my first thought, yeah.
And certainly around Queenstown and all of those areas, that early snow indicates perhaps that there's going to be a good season ahead. But then Weather Watch head analyst Philip Duncan, he's really right on the button, this guy. He's quite... You can hear squeaks in the background. That's my dog. He's grabbed a squeaky toy. I'm sorry about that, Peter. He wants me to give him his Vegemite sandwich for his breakfast. And he's been pushing me through this whole bulletin, trying to get me to stop talking to you and get his sandwich. But there we go.
You clearly haven't got your priorities right, Selwyn. You're focusing on us instead of your dog.
So I just had to let you know what that squeaking noise would have been. But Philip Duncan, he says that the icy cold winter pattern is going to go for the next couple of days, but then over the weekend it will slip back into some chilly weather. But we're going to be up above the 20s again for another couple of days before we get the cold. But I spoke about the dog Blake. Well, he's been caught out a bit by this weather too, and even in Auckland it's pretty chilly at the moment, and he's needing his jacket on these days, Peter.
Okay.
So that's a good indication, I suppose, that the weather has certainly changed.
Indeed, yes, indeed. Well, when I saw in your email about the snow falling there, my first thought was, could it be a New Zealand ski holiday later in the year? We'll have to see how the finances go. It would be nice. It would be nice.
Direct flights, I should get paid from Tourism New Zealand or something. Maybe they think I'm a liability. But, the direct flights, as I understand, from Adelaide directly to Auckland, if you were going to go skiing later on in the winter, it's only a 3-hour drive down to the ski fields in the Central Plateau area.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to get to the real McCoy, the real good snow is down on the South Island.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a plane flight down, an hour and a half or something.
Very tempting. Very tempting indeed.
Yeah.
Do you get down there much yourself?
No.
No?
No. I mean, it's very odd, isn't it? We Kiwis are strange people, apparently. We often take for granted what we've got. But I loved going down to the snow, but I'm not really good at skiing. As a young guy, we used to do ice hockey, and that was about our thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're very brave doing ice hockey. That looks like a fairly brutal sport. Yeah, me too, I think. There we are. All right, so you best go and get Blake his Vegemite on toast. You don't want poor Blake the Greyhound to be missing out on his brekkie. Have a great week, mate. Stay warm, and we'll catch you again next week. Or we'll catch you on brekkie tomorrow morning, of course, after 6:30.
Okay, mate.
Thanks, Selwyn. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Selwyn Manning, editor of EveningReport.nz. Time now, 27 minutes past 5.
Autumn. It's such a great time in Adelaide. Great for gardening. Great for having your mates round. A great time to fire up the weather. To celebrate, our mates at Yates and Weber are giving away a Weber Family Q. Listen into Weekends with Michael Keelan from 6 till 10 for the Weber Q to call. For your chance to win a sizzling Weber Family Q. All thanks to your mates at Yates and $13.95, Adelaide's 5AA.
At Pain Away, we're about the pain. The whole pain, nothing but the pain. Everyday Aussies to elite professional athletes are using easy-to-apply Pain Away arthritis and sports creams and sprays. At Pain Away, we believe so much in all our pain relief products that we offer a 100% money-back guarantee on all products purchased. So if you suffer joint or muscular pain, try Pain Away.
Pain Away products are available in all leading pharmacies across Australia. Use only as directed. Always read the label. If pain persists, see your healthcare professional.
Time for another top deal from Nordic Honda, top of Glen Osmond Road. Want a top moment in life? Well, how's this? For this month only, you can receive an amazing deal from Nordic Honda on any new Honda CR-V Series 2. Get this, a new Honda CR-V Series 2 plus a free $1,000 FPOS card. Ask the Nordic Honda team about 5-year extended warranties on all new Hondas and drive